Oh my God, they can hate Kamala Harris so much. They're like, why not put Simone Biles on there? It's like, bro, you guys hate Simone Biles. She's black. She's outspoken. She like had mental health issues in the past, which she was very forthcoming about. Like, sis, when do you like Simone Biles on the cover of any magazine?
That has to be hard, though, if you're working for...
Let's go. Let's get to the real news. Okay, the most honest, most trusted source in news, Fox News, baby. Obama secretly running Kamala's campaign, says former speaker. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about, baby. None of this fake shit no more. We've been watching too much libtard media, brother. It's time to watch the most trusted source in news, Fox News. All right? Uncompromising, truth-telling. Brian killed myself.
Joe Biden, and you think he's going to be the candidate.
Right.
And you're an aide working on his staff or his campaign, and then all of a sudden things change and they push up Kamala Harris.
Right.
What happens to you?
Especially because they have tensions between the staffs.
Exactly.
Because she couldn't keep anybody. 87% of those staffers have resigned from day one. And then you have the Biden people who think, I don't even know how to work with her. And they don't work with her. And now all of a sudden, they get elevated.
And they used to disparage her.
Right. And Jen O'Malley, for example, Jen O'Malley Dillon, the former Biden White House official, talked to her over the weekend, said, I need to know my role.
Right.
They're all nervous about David Plouffe coming in from the Obama years.
They should be nervous because he's great at his job. Also, you got Stephanie Cutter as well. So David Plouffe apparently is in control of the math. How did they get to 270? Great at his job. Stephanie Cutter is now over messaging, all the communication strategy. The one thing I find troubling, though, okay, you got David Plouffe and Stephanie Cutter that had a great candidate. They had Barack Obama, someone that was on. This is a plan that was 5 years in the making to get him to the presidency. Now they have Kamala Harris, who they can't put on the road to actually talk to voters on a day-to-day basis. Sure, they can keep her on the prompter, but she's not going to have any of those breakout moments. Now, apparently the tension is because they said that David Plouffe is over the math, but he's really running the campaign.
Right.
And Jen O'Malley Dillon wants her role to be solidified as the campaign manager.
Because when you think about it, the Biden team, which a lot of it has morphed into the Harris team with the re-election in Wilmington. And why is it in Wilmington now? Because she's not from Wilmington. They're the people who thought that in the run-up to the election, they would put Joe Biden at union halls with 80 people.
Right.
Suddenly, they've got big events where there are in excess of 10,000 people, and it's completely different. And one of the other things, according to this Politico article that talks a little bit about the tension between the Harris team and the campaign, is the fact that apparently there are some people on the on one of the teams that is badmouthed the current vice president who's running for president, and they don't like that person.
Right.
And
I mean, you can see
they're a big part of the team.
Here's the headline of the Politico article. Kamala Harris, United Democrats. Her campaign still has fractures. It talks about how Biden's aides, as you're saying, Steve, in the past have known for their disparaging comments about Kamala Harris. It talks about the daunting task to try to integrate two different political
Drama. Dude, that jersey looks like a Besiktas shirt. Dude, that's so funny. My dad just saw me wearing the jersey and was like, is that a Besiktas jersey or a Juventus jersey? In his mind, he's like, he did not consider that this would be like a Australian Football League jersey at all. Boo, Collingwood. Yeah, I know.
Worlds. Right. It talks about David Plouffe coming in, and Kevin McCarthy was interviewed, and he said, because David Plouffe worked for Obama, helped get him elected, he said, Obama's really running the show here. Listen.
Watching the campaign now, some of Obama's, David Plouffe and others are now working on the campaign. You're getting the Obamas shifting from running the White House to now running this campaign. This is the most liberal ticket in the history of American politics. We do not want to put San Francisco and Minnesota across this country.
And Nancy Pelosi may have...
Wait, you don't want Minnesota across the country? Dog, Minnesota is in the middle of the country. It's Middle-soda. Like, sure, you could say that about San Francisco or whatever, but it is quite ironic. Like, it's hilarious to be like, yeah, the radical beacon, the radical beacon of Minnesota Like, that's not going to translate. Absolutely no one is going to be like, yeah, man, shit sure is radical over there in Minnesota. Don't get me started on San Francisco. I'm just saying, like, San Francisco is right-wing as on so many goddamn issues, especially in terms of housing, dealing with homeless people, dare I say even crime. But what I'm talking about is how people think about San Francisco versus how people think about Minnesota, okay? Most people do not think of the Twin Cities or Minneapolis or Minnesota as like a liberal haven, okay? That's not something that is going to be a solid narrative that you can launch in 80 days and successfully bring across. Minnesota has a lot of liberal cities in the same way that Texas has a lot of liberal cities. Like, what are we talking about?
Taking Joe Biden out. But remember who was the Speaker of the House during President Barack Obama's presidency? It was Nancy Pelosi. They were very extremely close. Apparently, some of the reporting that we saw during the Sundays and show is that they did not, President Obama, Nancy Pelosi, as well as some of the leadership, did not anticipate Joe Biden selecting Kamala to be the candidate. They were expecting an open primary process, and after that second statement, he named them and put them all in the tough
So I think he's
position.
saying to Nancy Pelosi, there's two people with a lot of experience. Number one, I know you ousted me, but
That's right.
I'm going to pick who's next. I
That's
know you don't like
exactly
her
right.
because we saw you on television on CNN when asked, should she be the running mate for Joe Biden? He goes, he thinks so. Remember?
Yeah.
He thinks so. And how about this? Imagine if you're Julie Chavez Rodriguez and you're running Joe Biden's
Campaign
campaign,
manager.
which got a big elevation, right? And all of a sudden you find out now you're in charge of the Sun Belt states.
Well,
Really?
and
I thought I was
Hispanic
leading.
outreach.
Hispanic
I,
outreach,
yeah, I thought I was the one getting to 270. Now David Plouffe comes off the bench, leaves Kellyanne Conway's podcast, and now runs things. So I hope they work it out because she has a history of not being able to work out anything with her staff. Remember, a terrible campaign staff, a terrible vice presidential staff, who I'm not saying they're bad individually, but collectively there was no leadership, and they end up tearing each other's eyes out.
I think they're doing whatever it takes to win. We have 30 plus.
Yeah. No, literally. Yeah. No, that's it. Kamala Harris is a sheet of white paper. Okay. Just write whatever policy that will win, and she will push for it. That's their job at a time when a generic Democrat was outcompeting Biden by like 20 points. That is the person. They lucked into a good thing.
State 35 days until early voting. Is that right? 34
Something
days.
like that. Tick, tick, tick.
Well,
little less
I
than
just
30
hope
days.
the Republicans take the same strategy and do whatever it takes to win. All the petty going back and forth with old opponents, George and all, none of that matters.
Right.
It's about who's gonna win, and Kamala Harris.
What does this tell you? This tells you that she needs all the help she can get. Donald Trump's running his own show, but they can't trust Kamala Harris to run her own show. They have to tell her what to do and bring in Obama's people.
Yeah, to your point, one of the things the Republicans
Yeah, she has no people. What do you mean? She does not have any people. That's not a thing that she has. She's never had people.
need to do is they need a solid ground game. The Democrats for decades have had a great get out the vote on
it was
election
started
day.
by Plouffe.
Right, exactly. Well, even before that, going back decades, they were really good. Machine politics. The Republicans right now don't have that. They're kind of farming it out to other people. But behind the scenes, also part of Politico Playbook, it's interesting. Apparently Kamala Harris is getting ready to debate Donald Trump. You know who the debate partner is that they have selected? It is Hillary Clinton's former aide, that Philippe Reines is the guy who's going to actually be playing
like
Donald Trump. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
and one of the things they will be doing is they will be trying to get her to pivot. And she's been pivoting on a lot of stuff.
Flip-flopping.
Flip-flopping, another polite way to put it in politics.
Changing her mind, totally.
Just like Biden did on day one. Remember all those executive orders, shutting down the wall, shutting down the pipeline?
But he did tell us he was.
Her staff is dog shit. Now she has her brother-in-law, Tony West, advising her, who is a corporate shill. He really is bad. Yeah, I'm worried about that. For sure. These are like the more boring aspects of a campaign that Democrats will inevitably lean on like their worst instincts on, because it's the type of shit that most people don't pay attention to. When you say Kamala doesn't have any people, do you mean members of the cabinet? No, I'm talking about her team. Like in the Democratic Party, there's fissures. Joe Biden, because of his 50 plus years in Congress, has his own people, but mostly would lean into, we're talking about staffers, would either lean on Obama era staffers with like Obama minded folks. It's basically a Clinton camp and an Obama camp in the Democratic Party in the most reductive terms. Okay. And then you have your own staffers. Overall, Kamala has leaned on a lot of Obama staffers to fill the roles.
Well, he told us he was going to be moderate,
Yeah,
though.
right.
He
Yeah.
told us he was going to be moderate.
Last week, we talked about how she was using the big airplane at big events, a la Donald Trump, and now she's taken something that is very near and dear to people who live on tips. Watch the comparison. Seem familiar?
Raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
When I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips. There will be no taxes on tips. No taxes on tips. It's called no tax on tips. No tax on tips.
I think the easiest thing to do in this situation is literally package this up by saying Donald Trump is silly. He wants corporations to get off scot-free without paying their employees more. That's why I'm not just advocating for no taxes on tips. I'm advocating for no taxes on tips and an elimination of sub-minimum wage, something like that.
I'm also doing no tax on tips. No tax on tips.
So the question is, does she even know what the policy is when it comes to no tax on tips? Where does she? Where did it come from?
They tell
I
her.
still don't think it's a good idea, but that's besides the point. I don't think it's a good idea. It's popular because, I hate to say this, but a lot of people are stupid, okay? Americans are so brain broken that they just like only run on tax cuts, and they can never imagine a world where tax hikes can happen to those who deserve to get tax hikes, not the servers, obviously, but like the wealthy and the corporations. But because they're so brain broken on tax cuts that it's like once that conversation gets started, it's impossible to shake them from that position that it's a good idea.
Sure.
Who does it all encompass in it? Also, if you remember, it's not just the tips policy. The Democrats, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, have already said they want to roll back the Trump tax cuts that are set to expire. What's your position on that? Are you going to be in support of a tax increase on most of Americans that got a tax cut under that bill? I mean, there's been no pushback or
And Lawrence,
curiosity.
why now? Why now?
Yeah.
She's been in office for 3.5 years as the vice president.
Or why not do it now? As the vice president, you have some influence. You can. Apparently, you have this weekly meeting with the president of the United States. Why haven't y'all proposed that being
Because they
into
didn't
law
even
right now?
think about it until they heard
That's
Donald
exactly
Trump
right.
say it first.
And that's going to be the interesting part is, you know, she's doing a 180 on all the border stuff. Now she's doing, hey, no tax on tips. I wonder how long until she adopts another very popular suggestion that Donald Trump made a week or two ago, and that is no tax on Social Security, because that is a good way to get older people over 65 living on Social Security to vote for you.
Well, at one point, the voters have to say, now you're insulting me. Now, listen, if
People
you
want
want to
free
do,
stuff.
you are running on Donald Trump's plans.
Right.
So most of the stuff that Donald Trump's running on in terms of keeping the tax rate in place, in terms of having a strong border, in terms of having so protecting strength on foreign policy, are 60% approval. Trump aside, these are issues that 6 out of every 10 Americans say I fully support. So instead of running on what she's done and what she wanted to do in 2020 as she got the nomination, she's running as Donald Trump. So the American people have to say at one point, this is a little insulting. You know, I don't pretend as if we don't have a television, we're not online, we're not on social media, and understand where this came
The
from.
problem is we eat, breathe, and sleep this.
That's true.
We're covering this constantly, so we know that he said it first. But yesterday I was at a restaurant, and the waitress, we were talking about no tax on tips. How do you feel about it? She said, both candidates are saying that. She had no
there you
clue.
go.
Exactly.
I mean, she's one speech away from
Wait,
saying
what?
MAGA. I mean, she's almost.
No, she's going to say build a wall.
I mean, she's
Wait,
that close from doing it. But
She has said build a wall. What do you think the right-wing border bill is? I'm losing my mind. Also, that waitress isn't wrong. Like, they both have, at this point, said no tax on tips. The wall thing is so stupid. Democrats ran on how racist it was because it was. It objectively didn't solve any of the problems that it claimed to solve for years. And then they literally are communicating a bill. They're running with a bill that literally features finishing the border wall in it. You're going to hear a lot more of this from Fox News of them being like, wow, they keep stealing Trump's policies. It's also kind of stupid because they should just simply say, who do you trust more to actually build the wall? The guy who did build the wall or the Democrats who called it racist and only now recognize how scary it is that immigrants are doing mass rapes and murders? That's what I would say if I was a Republican strategist. I'd be like, over and over again, I'd be like, these idiot Democrats think you're stupid. These Democrats think you're dumb. They think that you're dumb and you don't realize that like the Republican Party has been ringing the alarm bells on immigration for years. And now Democrats are even coming to terms with that. Who do you trust more to deal with immigration? The border czar who let all the undocumented migrants into the country so they could do like fentanyl rapes? Or the guy who correctly said Mexicans are rapists and stopped them from coming in?
Again, the campaign strategy is to isolate her. And judging by what's happened so far, there hasn't been any pushback. She has gotten a bump as a result from keeping her away from the American people. And if you don't think it won't work, look back in 2020. They did the same thing with Joe Biden, and it worked.
Look at her voting record. If you really want to know what she thinks, how she feels, what she believes, look at her voting record. This truly is the most progressive ticket we've ever had in our country.
She won an award. I don't know if they gave out plaques, but she was in 2019 the most liberal senator, most progressive senator in the Senate.
Track.
And Bernie Sanders was second.
Yeah.
Do they give is there a ceremony for that?
Well,
I'm not sure.
There's no plaque. I think she got a gift card.
Oh, she did get a gift card to what? Starbucks?
Well, something like that. Well,
But oh God, they're so lame. God, I could be so much better at being a racist Republican commentator / analyst. Like, it just makes me mad. They got no riz, they got no bitches. One of them's last name is literally I want to kill myself. He's Mr. Brian Kill Me. They suck.
to your point about we haven't heard from her in a professional interview segment setting like that, it's because
that's beltway stuff, Steve. That's just beltway stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and her comms team said they're not going to do it because you know what? It's not going to help them with swing staters and swing voters and stuff like that. But when you look at the new Siena New York Times poll, which came out over the weekend, suddenly it's within the margin of error, but she is slightly ahead in 3 of the states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, which is a 180 from where Joe Biden was. There are some other studies out there, other polls out there that show Donald Trump is ahead. The point is, it's really close, and she has suddenly made it competitive. And is she going to put herself out there to be interviewed by people like Peter Doocy or anybody else?
Yeah, according to
like there's anybody else besides Peter Doocy?
Well,
come on, Steve, let's be honest.
At our house,
right?
Hillary Vaughn, Peter Doocy or Hillary Vaughn. I'd go for either one of them.
So real quickly, according to the RCP average, Donald Trump is winning in.
RCP average. Right-wing clear politics average.
Most of the battleground states, except for Nevada and Michigan. So we'll see what happens.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. Former
Trump must interview obsessed Hollywood elites. What? Who? That's awesome.
President Trump is...
I want to reiterate that I, as a Hollywood elite, I love this shit, okay? I love this shit, okay? It's great for me. It's awesome. It's way better than being subscribed at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break, thinking that 7 minutes have gone by, so you think I'm not going to serve the ad break, but it's coming for you regardless. But it won't impact you at all because, like I said, you're already subscribed. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Is set to sit down for a major interview with Tesla and ex-CEO Elon Musk today. The partnership upsetting the Hollywood elites, rallying around Kamala Harris as the long-running rivalry between entertainment and Silicon Valley enters a new era. Here with more Silicon Valley.
That's weird. I thought the Republicans hated Silicon Valley. Yeah, Silicon Valley. It's just odd because, like, they used to talk about tech censorship all the time. Weird.
Valley tech pioneer and former Obama fundraiser, Allison Wynn. Good morning to you, Allison.
Good morning, Ainsley.
Good morning. So this divide, why do you think there are very wealthy people in Silicon Valley that are supporting Donald Trump, but you have Hollywood supporting Kamala? Why?
Well, I think this is another narrative of us versus them. And the new Republican Party is always about unification, right? Especially under Trump and also with Elon Musk. If you think about it, Hollywood dreams of these big ideas and Silicon Valley makes it a reality. Robotics with C3PO, AI, and augmented reality with minority.
Every time I see someone like that worked on a campaign previously, I'm reminded of how, chat, look at this. This person is not intelligent, okay? Like, you have to remember, we always assume, we have this like weird bias where we assume that because someone is in a position of power, that they must have like genuine reason for being there and that they must have like demonstrated brilliance at some point. No.
Report spinner cars, electric cars, flying cars. So we have a great collaboration together. And I know Elon Musk personally. I've been on vacation with him. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. He gave up his bedroom on a private plane for me and my daughter. He could have thought that I was just a nanny.
Before people say, Hasan, this is misogynistic, first you called her stupid, and now you're going to say another thing. I'm sorry, but they okay? Allegedly.
Silicon Valley soccer mom, and he sat at the back of the plane with the staff and gave that bedroom to me. And every day on our vacation, we got to know each other. He woke up in the morning. He was the first one to wake up. He was the last one to go to sleep. He made these dreams a reality, and he actually played chess with my daughter every morning.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. I did not think this interview would go in this direction at all. Like, I think this is one of the funniest ways to say that, like, Elon Musk is a good guy. Because I feel like even most people, like, I got to see the comments on this. Saying Hollywood has anything elite is oxymoronic. Hollywood's dead. They're just responding to the title. Come on, someone, please. That Obama poster is disgusting. God, why did I expect YouTubers' comments to actually, like, watch the video? Because if they did, they would be saying the things that I think that they would be saying. Bro, she literally said she had a lot of sex with Elon Musk. This interview, over the course of the 1 minute and 55 seconds that she's been on the airwaves, has only said she had, like, not a little bit of sex with Elon, like a lot. Okay? Like a lot of sex with, like, weird sex that they had. You were married to this woman? What is this? Google founder admits to creating revenge site against estranged wife. Scott Hasan, the man who wrote much of the original code that powers Google. Wait. Oh my God. I am once again saying I don't support all women. Yeah.
First two times she cried because he never let her win. He doesn't see a difference between black, white, male, female. If you look at his record, Linda is the CEO of Twitter.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's definitely a type of person that just, like, pisses me off more than anything else in terms of, like, sheer stupidity. Like, her stupidity angers me. Okay? Like, it just, like, is making me so, every time I hear her speak, like, one word after the next, I'm getting progressively more angry.
Gwen's the CEO of SpaceX, right? And he wants parents to have the same rights as transsexual children. And he's not going to give up on that. He doesn't give up on people. And I do believe Donald Trump is the same way, who I've dined with several times. I have another story about Donald Trump, and I'm very excited about this mashup, this interview. I was there with one of my best friends, and she looks all
Believe zero women. No, dude, you don't understand. Like, the things I want to do to Silicon Valley people like this that were, like, formerly Obama campaign people or whatever. I don't think I can't say it out loud. I can't say it out loud. Okay. But, like, that's it. I'm just not going to say it. But I'm thinking it. You can't stop me. You can't stop me from thinking it. I despise these, like, weirdo tech libertarians. I hate them. I hate them. I hate their culture. I hate everything about them. They're so nasty. They're such bloodless monsters. They are freakish pieces of shit and perverts too.
Almost like Letitia James, and he treated us very nicely during the middle of his trial. So I'm very.
Like, who cares how people treat you, dumbass? Like, what the fuck are you saying? Look at all these famous people that I've been around and had sexual intercourse with. Like, why is this an article, dude? Why is this a story? Wow, I fucked a rich guy. Oh my God. You fucked another rich guy, and now you're a second rich guy. Who cares? Oh my God, call the police. Extra, extra, read all about it. Dumb Silicon Valley weirdo fucks multiple tech guys.
Excited about this mashup.
Great stories, Allison. Thank you so much for being on with us. We're excited for this interview. Elon Musk and Donald Trump sitting down together tonight at 8 o'clock on X. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
I'm Brian Kilmeade after that story. God, that killed me. I envy her. Ain't a single thought in her head, dog. Dude, it is like, no. There's a level of stupidity that you cannot go beyond. A level of stupidity that you pass that like instantly lasers my brain. When I see that shit, I'm like, you are the dumbest person. How the fuck have you been kept alive by medicine? It makes me start like Ted Kaczynski posting in my mind. It makes me literally like want to dismantle all of the consequences post-industrial revolution. Like I want to piece by piece destroy modern medicine. I become like a RFK Jr. voter all of a sudden. I'm like, I'm anti-modern medicine because modern medicine has kept these weirdos alive. Maybe science has gone too far, you know what I mean? Like,
we are 3 weeks into Queen Kamala's reign, and Americans are still clueless as ever on what the heck she stands for. There is not a single major policy position on her website, but she knows how to be a copycat. Kamala is now ripping off Donald Trump's signature, no tax on tips pledge.
Raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
When I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips. There will be no taxes on tips. No taxes on tips. It's called no tax on tips. No tax on tips. I'm also doing no tax on tips. No tax on tips.
So what will Kamala the chameleon rip off next? Will she build the wall? Harris is
yes. Literally, she is unfortunately advocating to build the wall, which I hate. I despise. Perhaps this is a good opportunity for the Democrats to really reconsider that narrative, because then Republicans can totally capture that space.
Trying to transform herself into a border hawk.
She took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
But the one thing Kamala cannot copy is raw talent, and her friends in the media are doing their best to make that happen. Harris is gracing the latest Time magazine cover and calling it, quote, the reintroduction of Kamala Harris. And despite her word salad speech style, this lady thinks Kamala is the second coming of Barack Obama.
This kind of shit is ass, though. Like the media glaze sesh, if it's unearned, the media glaze sesh like this is, if it's unearned, especially if she's not giving any like interviews and stuff, is going to be used against the campaign a lot. This happened with Hillary a lot too. It just like, it sucks. It's lame. Most like people that read Time magazine that are already like invested in Kamala, they like that. That's fine. But you're not like winning over new sectors, in my opinion. You're not winning over new demographics. And this will open you up to a lot of understandable and very sticky lines of attack. I don't really like this shit.
I think it's a really good campaign, and people really like her. She's gotten to be a really gifted Obama-level orator, and she was very much underestimated by the mainstream media. And quite frankly, she has command. You hear her up there, and she is confident, she is calm, and she is commanding. And for whatever reason, America is ready for her.
Dems have one speed, bro. They have one speed. Horrible instinct, dude. Horrible instincts to be like, oh my God, she's so bold, she's so brave, she's so beautiful.
Which is very exciting.
Harold, the interesting part of this no tax on tips is that Kamala doesn't even say, even though Donald Trump talked about it. And you add to that she was actually the tie-breaking vote to give more power to the IRS agents to be able to actually tax those tips. And so on the one hand, we had Joe Biden, the plagiarist, and now Kamala, the copycat. What say you?
Good to be with you. I hope you had a good weekend. It's been a tough 3 weeks. So I look at campaigns as they are. You have two people running for an office. We'll do a segment on this. The person running for the Democratic job, running on the Democratic side, got moved into the slot after getting the delegates to go with her after a period of time. We'll talk about it. And you have a Republican who was on top. He was ahead in the polls. Here we go, 3 weeks later. Donald Trump has called Kamala Harris, I think.
You don't get it. If the Democrats push towards the right, they will definitely have a chance to pick up those undecided voters who will never vote for any Democrat because they only vote Republican. Okay, this person is memeing. No. That person is not being serious. Although that person is a very real person. Like, there are a lot of people who said that all the time. That's like the average Democratic Party operative. Oh my God. Put him on a spaceship. Send him up to ISS on a Boeing spaceship, okay? So they can be up there for 8 months instead of 8 days. Oh my God.
Dumb, incompetent, not black, and low IQ. And the end result is she's gaining in the polls. Now, you're right. You said last week there's not a lot populating her website and other things talking about substance and specifics on issues. And frankly, I looked on President Trump. There's not a lot on his either. There's a little more, but there's not a lot. The copycat thing, I'll come to it. When I was in Congress and someone wanted to co-sponsor a bill that I wanted to...
That's me. It would sway my vote, so I think he's correct. Shut the fuck up, bitch. Nobody cares.
Wanted to sponsor.
Don't even get me started on that shit. Okay? Nobody cares about your vote, man. Okay?
And they were Republican. And some members of their party may not have liked the thing. I didn't condemn them. I commended them. I think that everyone knows that Donald Trump was the first to begin to say no taxes on tips. And if I'm not mistaken, the greatest form of flattery is imitation. And for her to be saying this is a good idea, I think the president should probably embrace it. Joe Scarborough, who's on another network, we were on the same committee together in Congress. I was able to show him how public schools in his district suffered from something that public schools in my district did. And if you were to listen to the vernacular and the narrative from our colleagues, you would think that we were polar opposite Democrats and Republicans on this particular funding for certain public schools. Turns out we were aligned. We sponsored together, got passed through committee, and eventually got put into a piece of legislation. I just think you should commend and not condemn when these things happen. Because if President Trump said, I am for restoring Roe v. Wade, I'd be the first to say, I like that copycat. If he were to say, I am for smarter gun laws to ensure that kids don't get them and we have stronger background checks, I'd say, copycat, Donald Trump, he's my guy. So I think people should embrace this and understand that this is really how public policy gets made, at least good public policy gets made.
Brian, this new Kamala that we're seeing, I mean, where has she been? Even the mainstream media made fun of her, the word salads, the fact.
Yeah, except if he said that, he wouldn't win a single vote on that front. And the Democrats would literally turn around and go, see, even he knows that this was a major mistake. So who are you going to trust? Me, a person who has consistently ran on defending abortion, or the other guy who has taken abortion and actually destroyed it? Now, why am I bringing up this analogy? It's because the Democrats are doing that on immigration for no reason.
That she couldn't get a statement straight. Now they're basically saying that, this woman is now the new queen of the Democrat Party, when 2 weeks ago Barack Obama said she can't win.
And he's great friends with her. They've been friends for 20 years. First off, Harold, you're right. If she said in her speech, Donald Trump had a great idea the other day. He says no tax on tips. I thought about it.
Oh, shut up. You would never give her credit. Who gives a f?
Now that I'm hearing.
I don't even think she should have done that. I think it's a bad policy in general. Sometimes bad policies are popular. But, like, who the f believes this? If she was like, oh, yeah, Trump had a really good idea. We give him credit. That's why we want to run on it. It's like, are you going to turn around and be like, wow, I can't believe she did the bold and the brave and the unthinkable. Like, she gave Trump credit. No, you're still going to be like, she's a copycat bitch. The entire panel is held together with face tape.
Nevada looking at all you. I think he was right. Then I think you're right.
I'll call and tell her to do that.
But she's not condemned. She's not giving him any credit. She's acting like she got the idea. She's like, it's her idea to be tough on the border. She cut this ad. I don't know where she got this archival footage from, but she's been terrible on it. And people are just saying, wait, why don't you admit that it's been a sieve for 3.5 years, but I want to change it? Now she says, I'm going to tackle inflation on day one. I think to myself, why? You're in day 3, 1,000 plus. You should be tackling it to begin with. You're part of it. Unless you're going to say that you've been on the sidecar not doing anything, at one point you got to say, listen, President Biden, good guy, but sideline me. He wouldn't give me any chance. Now you get a chance to see my policy. Been 3 weeks, you're going to see all this stuff in front of you. But what's so maddening is she's not admitting and acknowledging that she's flipping on all these issues. She's not even verbalizing it. And now she comes out and takes these two things. Like you said in the open, is she going to say build the wall next? Because I really expected her to say that. The other thing she might say is Social Security.
I can't wait for them to find out that, like, she has been saying build the wall alongside Joe Biden and then get mad about that all over again. This is literally the reason why I say I'm a better right-wing commentator than these baboons. Like, straight up. Like, I'd be going balls to the wall right now. What? Just remove tips. Literally 0 point to have it. Lule. What? Okay. Okay, but is this guy wrong, though? Brandon has been 100% sidelining Harris and everyone else on ceasefire in Gaza. What, you think Kamala Harris is, like, really pushing for a ceasefire in Gaza and Biden is sidelining her? What are you talking about? I'm telling you right now, bro. If I'm a right-wing panelist here, I'm lasering him. I'm like, immigration under the border czar's watchful eye became this unimaginably painful experience for so many real Americans, legacy Americans, that were living under the fear that an undocumented migrant from Guatemala could break down their door and kill their daughters on any given day, and the Democratic woke DAs would have let them get away with it. Okay? The woke DAs that have no respect for law and order, like my law and order President Donald Trump, would have gotten around to releasing these criminals back into the population so that they can do more crimes, okay? And it got to such a point that even the Americans on the Democratic side that actually hate America started realizing that maybe they have to do something about it. So in a last-ditch effort, they turned around and said, oh, we want to put together a border wall bill. Now tell me, do you trust me and my president, Donald Trump, who has been speaking about how dangerous this border is and how dangerous these Guatemalans and these Venezuelans are for years? Or do you genuinely think that these Democrats are actually going to do the right thing? No, they're playing politics. It's time to stop playing politics on this issue. Start recognizing that even the Democrats recognize that the border is a genuine issue, a genuine problem, okay? And it's time to vote for the real border czar, an uncompromising force when it comes to immigration, a man who cares about national security more than anything else. And that man's name is Donald Trump. These Democrats are coming late to the game and thinking that they can change the narrative, thinking that they can make us forget about all the crime that has increased in this country as a consequence of unmitigated, unlimited, permanent immigration into the nation. Because they want to make sure that you and your vote does not matter. They want to make sure that your vote is outweighed by the vote of a Guatemalan, a Venezuelan, one from El Salvador.
Security. Trump's other idea that he said maybe we should stop taxing Social Security. And I'm wondering, is she going to say that to seniors next time she goes to a retirement home?
Yep. All right, Dana, over the past couple of weeks, we've seen that the audiences are getting bigger, that, all of the momentum is on her side now, and that she literally is in a position where if she goes off script, if she does an interview, she could collapse. So do you think she's going to do that?
Well, remember, in every campaign, let's just think back to her campaign in 2020. She starts off really strong.
Yeah.
Okay? And then it falls apart. That might not happen here. The timing is very, very good for her. And one of the things I thought was quite shocking was that for the
Okay, please stop. I had you really. Now I think my neighbors heard you. Can you become Real Hasan now and correct? Real Hasan has left the building. I'm a right-wing grifter now. The funniest thing is if I turned right-wing and actually started grifting, because like that would require me to grift, because I'm not a right-winger, obviously. I think it's so stupid and gross and violent and brutal and barbaric and filled to the brim with lies. All of those people who call me a left-wing grifter would love me. They would love me, dude. Oh my God. They'd be like, oh, look at this guy. He's so macho. He's so alpha. Of course he's alpha. He loves being a patriot, brother. That's why he's alpha is not like them soy boys and them libtards.
For the first time, you saw some polls say that voters who care about the economy trust Democrats and Kamala Harris more than Donald Trump on the economy now. It's like, wait, how did that happen? The other thing she could have done on the tax thing, on the tips, she could have said, President Trump had this idea. I'll see him and I'll raise him this and I'll cut this and I'll do this. Like something that would be
my
like,
retirement plan.
Okay, well, I like that idea. First of all, I actually think that no tax on tips might be a great idea. I think in practice, when you start thinking about, well, what about the dishwasher? Should the dishwasher have to pay taxes too? Because the dishwasher gets paid less. And I think that it's just a little bit more complicated than anybody is allowing for. And I would say just having gotten back from a week away.
Oh my God. Out of principle, because she is so reactionary, she literally started dunking on Trump's plan because Kamala's the one who put it forward. No, she's right. No, chat, you're misunderstanding. That is a really common counter to this argument. No, she knows dishwashers don't get paid in tips. No, dude, she accidentally is cutting a very salient counter argument to why the no tax on tip shit is actually poison. Why is she doing that? Because Kamala's the one advancing it. She actually literally did it. She's like, why? Why is a bus driver doesn't get paid in tips? Why the fuck is a bus driver paying more in taxes than a person working in the service sector? What's going to happen to the people working in the back? Why are dishwashers not getting subject to the same tax cuts? Some dishwashers do get tips. Dude, you are crazy. Not all dishwashers automatically get tips, okay? Back of the houses oftentimes don't get the tips. The distribution process is not written. Like, it's not like a thing that you have to do. Or like, can a banker suddenly start getting tips from clients? They do. It depends on the payment structure, but they could like basically talk about the I don't know, the way that they're taking a percentage off of like their performance could be considered a tip. Every restaurant I've worked in, back house gets tips. Oh. Anyway, point is, she's right. She actually did a very effective counter, only because it's Kamala Harris that's advocating for it now.
I followed the news a lot, but I should say welcome. I'm glad to be back around the table.
I should have said welcome back.
No, I should have said thank you. It's good to be back around the
why I
table.
didn't say it.
But it's interesting to not have to read about it and observe, but not have to talk about it all the time, and to realize like this campaign feels very strange. It feels very hollow. Her campaign in particular, and the issues that people care about, just like we have big problems in the country and people aren't talking about it. And she is trying to run as both an incumbent vice president with all of the selling them on the mantle of her experience and her record. But also she wants you to know she doesn't believe any of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the media is like, okay.
Yep.
And to think that she's on the cover of Time magazine, the cover of the Atlantic, on the very week that Simone Biles just stuns the world. Like, we could have put Kamala Harris on the magazine next week, but
bro, oh my God, they can hate Kamala Harris so much. They're like, why not put Simone Biles on there? It's like, bro, you guys hate Simone Biles. She's black. She's outspoken. She like had mental health issues in the past, which she was very forthcoming about. Like, sis, when do you like Simone Biles on the cover of any magazine? What the Yo, she's all over the place, dude. What's next, bro? Brittany Griner on the magazine cover? Actually, Republicans now kind of respect Brittany Griner because apparently she cried on the national anthem since America got her out. She says she loves she says she loves the national anthem now. It like hits different.
But they seem to have her in thrall. And the last thing I would say is, when I say she starts off strong, remember also her campaign fell apart partly because of personnel issues and management, her management. And right now there's a story in Politico that David Plouffe, who's an Obama person who's come on board to help, is clashing with some of the Biden advisors because there are no clear lines of assignment. And if you look at the New York Times article that explained what was happening in her office, these were people on the record speaking, it was a similar issue. I don't know if she has enough time to get through it without...
I'm not gonna lie, this is a real problem. That's not a joke. Like, that is a real issue. It's not a joke. Kamala Harris has notoriously been bad at keeping staffers around. And honestly, she's not a very good manager. And also she's very malleable because she doesn't have like an ideological position you can pin her on, which means that she's not going to like rely on people that are at least invested in churning out policy positions that she agrees with. So this opens her up to like, to people that will motivate, or to people that are motivated with different kinds of ideological positions to then go in and basically run certain aspects, like key aspects of her campaign. She wants to win, but I don't know what her North Star is, and it scares me a little bit. Hopefully she'll listen to Walls a little bit.
You know, a big stumble, but she's going to have probably a decent week this week and a good one next week.
Right. Time is on her side. You know what, Greg, I want you to take a look at these side by sides. One is the, what Dana mentioned, the Time magazine cover with Kamala, and the other is the Time magazine cover of Donald Trump with his face melting. So the difference between how they portray a Republican running for president and a Democrat.
To be fair, and I have to address this to Dana, Time magazine, they thought that was Simone Biles. So,
right.
Who cares about Time magazine? It's the most irrelevant publication. Its circulation is in the dumper. No one reads it. You know, it's like being on the cover of Cracked. Does that still exist? I don't even know. You know, here's the deal. You said it was like, it feels hollow. It's hollow because it is. The fact is, in life, the more you get to know someone, the less you like them. I mean, we've learned this with Killmeat. But it's why
no one's learned that with Killmeat.
But it's why marriage is a commitment. You know, the first impression is the greatest impression, and then as you get to know people and you peel away the onion, you realize it's a commitment. So right now, the media is doing its best because they're running this show to keep Kamala Harris in the first impression zone, right? She's an unopened Christmas present. You know, as long as it's not open, you can imagine what it is, but you'll never get disappointed because you won't open it. So the media is doing its best to keep that present from being opened by the American public, because over time, which is what happens in a campaign, you see that it's all that it's not cracked up to be. Her copying Trump is a great strategy. So for one,
I think there's something very funny about Greg Buttfeld being like, yeah, you know, everybody just gets to hate you once they know you more. You know, pretty commonplace. Like, ask my bitch wife. You know, that's pretty common, right?
1 minute you're labeling the guy Hitler, and then the next you're taking Hitler's positions, because you know that the media won't point it out. Wasn't Trump's policies on the border xenophobic? Wasn't it heartless and reminiscent?
I hate that. I hate when I see a catty bitch cook, dude. Oh my God, I hate when I see a catty little bitch cook. He's right.
Innocent of the Third Reich, but when Kamala does it, it's joyful. You know, look how joyful deportations are. They're just, oh, the families are so happy. Right. You know, they love to get separated. But it's a terrible strategy to call it copycat stuff, because it just comes off as whining. And Harold has a...
Oh, he's right on that too? Oh my God.
When an opposing team copies something from their competition, it's because they realize that it's smart. And the counter strategy is to react by pushing that team further in the right direction, kind of like what you were talking about. Trump should exploit his gravitational pull, you know, demand that Harris fix the tax code now. You know, why aren't you doing this now? I mean, release a plan that actually lowers taxes for small businesses in the middle class. You're a VP. you've been here. You know, you could be. You're the border czar. Right now, you're the border czar. Why don't you do it? You know, Trump, in a weird way, is making Kamala great for once. You know, but having said that, you shouldn't buy it, because this has been a liberal trick for years. As you get close to an election, suddenly the Democrats dispense with the wacky, destructive, progressive crap, and they embrace republicanism.
Yeah, except Republicans do believe that, right? Like, Republicans do believe that more moderate, more Republican adjacent positions are actually good and people like it. That's not the case. It's just that the Democrats never effectively counter message against that and then embrace the GOP. And as a matter of fact, that's part of the reason why they keep losing. So the one aspect of this entire dynamic that he's wrong on is that these principles are objectively popular. It's only objectively popular, seemingly, if there's no counter narrative to it. He's not wrong there. Dems do abandon the progressive stuff and become centrist, right? Yes. And that is a bad thing that they do. My point is, he's right that Dems do abandon more progressive, more radical policies sometimes, okay, in an effort to come across more moderate. But that's a bad idea. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why the Tim Walz pick was so good. That's why they were like partially coping and partially claiming that, partially genuinely claiming that the Tim Walz pick was going to be a total loser for Kamala. But all of a sudden, that's not what's happening. All of a sudden, people are not actually saying, oh, yeah, no, this is too radical of a ticket for me. I'm not going to actually vote for these guys. All of a sudden, when you lean on the progressive policies and you got a guy who has actually enacted them into law, his approval rating is pretty high. The underlying false notion he's trying to embed in the viewers' minds is that they do it to get elected. In reality, they do it to please donors in the ownership class, even though it costs them voters and support when they pull the shit. Exactly. Democrats do not moderate their positions because they're scared that, like, there is this reasonable centrist out there who's like, I actually don't want health care, as a matter of fact. I think that private health care is the best way to go. Okay? I actually am worried about the deficit. Like, no one is worried about it. It's just a talking point that Republicans use in an effort to do austerity. Okay? That's the best possible way to advocate for more tax cuts. Tax cuts, austerity, tax cuts, austerity, tax cuts for the wealthy, austerity. That's it.
Suddenly they sound like mom and dad, all of us, instead of the tantrum throwing brats. They did this with Joe. They had him pretend that he was this middle of the road moderate who's going to unite the country. And then what happens? He gets in and practically destroys the place. There's a history of evidence here that it's all a big lie, that they always use candidates as a Trojan horse to bring in a radical. It's like the bad boyfriend who suddenly becomes a gentleman in order to get the girlfriend back. And then once he gets her back, he's back to whoring. That's exactly what the Democrats do in every election.
He's so gross. He can't stop himself. He's just like he is such a gross man, bro. He is like the cutie Cinderella meme men is so perfect for Greg Buttfeld. He gets in his own way. He cooked for like 3 seconds and then immediately went and became gross as fuck.
Election. They rule left, then they campaign right, and then they're back to the further left. So the fact is, while I say it's great that she's impersonating Trump, it's just an impersonation. Much like you, Brian, when you're trying to be me.
Or Jesse.
I don't, yeah, more like Jesse. I would think so.
All right.
I would say this. If it's so great to be Trump, why don't they just run on that?
No.
Why not run on her policy?
No,
Yeah.
but you know what they're offering here?
Guys.
What they're offering is they're saying to the voters, you like Trump's policies, but you don't like his personality? Well, you can have his policies without his personality. It's brilliant.
Right.
All right. Coming up.
Yeah, that would be the case if Trump's policies were objectively popular. It's not. Is Trump's charisma.
Good morning. Is
Trump's charisma and his capacity to basically look at the anger and resentment that Americans feel and channel that anger and frustration to like his own enemies. That is what makes him good. It's not his policies. Ain't nobody was like, oh man, it's so sick. I'm so glad that you've actually gutted protections for a normal healthcare process in this country. As a matter of fact, it's the exact opposite that happened. He did that shit. His Supreme Court did that shit. And now Americans are like, we are going to punish you. We hate you. We already hated your attitude. We already found you to be repugnant. Okay. But now that you did this other thing, we hate you extra hard.